the proceedings on the agency's website. This meeting is also being live streamed on the Access Health CT website. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So we'll start with attendance, and this is Charlie Klippel, present.
Thank you. Paul Philpott, Vice Chair.
Here.
Grant Ritter.
Here.
Thank you. Deidre Gifford. Steven Hernandez. Oh, thank you, Dr. Gifford. Steven Hernandez. Matthew Brockman. Thomas McNeil.
Here.
Dina Berlin. Andrea Barton Reeves, DSS Commissioner, or Deputy Commissioner Peter Hadler?
Peter Hadler here.
Thank you. Kathleen Holt from OHA.
Here.
Thank you. Claudia Gaultier from OPM. Paul Lombardo from SID. Dr. Manisha Tutani, DPH Commissioner. And Caroline Zambetti, designee for Nancy Navarrete, DMAS Commissioner.
Here.
Thank you. We do have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Terrific. Thank you all. Again, good morning. Could I please ask the executives of the exchange to introduce themselves? James.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. James Michelle, CEO of Access Health Connecticut.
Good morning.
Gina
Holly
Walsh,
Swick.
Director of Operations, Access Health Connecticut.
I apologize, Gina. Holly Swick, Director of Finance, Access Health Connecticut.
Hi, good morning. Rebecca McClear, Director of Technical Operations and Analytics, Access Health Connecticut.
Good morning, everyone. Susan Rich-By, Director of Legal and Governmental Affairs, Access Health Connecticut.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Caroline Ruette, Director of Marketing, Access Health CT.
Good morning, everybody. John Carbone, Director of Small Group Product Development and Broker Support.
Good morning, folks. Glenn Jurgen, Director of Human Resources, Access Health Connecticut.
Morning, everyone. Tammy Hendricks, Director of Health Equity and Outreach at Access Health Connecticut.
Marquise Davis, Director of IT, Access Health Connecticut.
Thank you. Anyone else?
No,
Perfect.
this concludes we're good now. Thank you.
I believe we'll also be joined, if we're not already, by Wakely today, but we'll leave that introduction for that moment. So thank you all very much for being here today. Could we start with comments, if any? Oh, sorry, we have no public comments, I am told. Is that correct, Marcin?
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. So we'll start with any questions or comments about the minutes of the last meeting. Are there any? If not, I would ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Motion to approve. So moved.
Thanks, Tom. Thomas, a second?
A second.
I'll second.
Thanks, Grant. All right. Any further comment? If not, Charlie Klippel, yes.
Thank you. Paul Philpott.
Yes.
Thank you. Grant Ritter.
Yes.
Deidre Gifford.
Yes.
Steven Hernandez. Matthew Brockman.
Yes.
Thomas McNeil.
Yes.
Dina Berlin.
Yes.
Peter Hadler.
Yes.
Kathleen Holt.
Yes.
And Claudio Gaultieri. Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Susan, to you to do a little housekeeping for us for the new year.
Sure. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We have two votes coming up. The first one is the election of a vice chair, and in the exchange's bylaws, it provides that each year the exchange board shall elect a vice chair. So that's what we are going to do today. And then I'll also skip, I think, for the next vote too, Mr. Chair, on some changes to committee membership, which is also in the bylaws, that the board approves any changes to committee membership. Thank you.
Fantastic. All right. Well, let's begin with the first one. I am hopeful that we are going to re-elect Paul Philpott to this role. But I welcome comments, questions, suggestions, or nominations. Hearing
Yes,
none.
hi, this is Grant. I nominate Paul Philpott for the
Thank
vice
you,
chair
Grant.
role.
I appreciate the nomination. Any others?
Tom McNeil, I seconded.
Okay, all right. I am going to take those two, that nomination and second as being the motion for this action. If there's any further discussion, please say so. Otherwise, Charlotte Klippel, yes.
Okay, Paul Philpott,
Yes.
Cron Ritter,
Yes,
Deidre Gifford,
Yes, and thanks for agreeing to fulfill this role.
Steve Hernandez, Matthew Brockman,
yes,
Thomas McNeil,
Yes.
Dina Berlin,
Yes.
Peter Hadler,
yes,
Kathleen Holt,
Yes.
and Claudio Galtieri. Thank you.
All my thanks as well. I appreciate all your service. Thank you very much. Now, Susan, back to you. Some committee changes.
Yes, thank you. We have a few changes on there, and you should have it on your annotated agenda. Ellen Skinner has asked to step down from the Health Plan Benefits and Qualifications Advisory Committee, and we have some changes for some of the board standing committees, I believe, given the new healthcare advocate.
Perfect. All right, and they are laid out in the minutes or in the materials you received before this meeting. Would you like to just frame the specific actions we're taking, Susan, so we can put it to a vote?
I don't, Martin, do you have the?
Okay.
I don't
Yes,
have the
I will.
annotated.
I will do
Sorry,
that. I will
Martin
do
can
that.
read it for you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Chair, I would request a motion to remove Ellen Skinner from the Health Plan Benefits and Qualifications Advisory Committee, to remove Sean King from the Strategy and Human Resources Committee, to appoint Kathleen Holt to the Strategy and Human Resources Committees, and to appoint Dina Berlin to the Human Resources Committee.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Any discussion about these actions? If not, then I would ask a motion to accept each of these actions.
so moved, Matt Brockman.
Paul.
No. I'll second
Paul, thank you.
Paul, go first.
Second? Marcy,
Second.
did you get it? Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, Charlotte Klippel, yes.
Thank you. Paul Philpott,
Yes.
Ron Ritter,
Yes,
Deidre Gifford,
Yes.
Steve Hernandez, Matthew Brockman,
yes,
Thomas McNeil,
Yes.
Dina Berlin,
Yes.
Peter Hadler,
yes,
Kathleen Holt,
Yes, unless I have to recuse myself from myself.
Okay. I don't think you have to, but
No,
I
I
would
think you're
defer
okay.
to. Okay. And Claudio Galtieri. Thank you. Motion passes.
And again, thank you all for your service in the past or your upcoming service. We really appreciate it. It's terrific. Thank you very much. With that, James, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, all, and a happy new year to everyone. I'm James Michelle, Chief Executive Officer of Access Health Connecticut, and thank you for taking the time to be with us this morning. Before we begin, I wanted to share some information regarding the potential expiration of the enhanced subsidies that currently help many of our Connecticut residents afford health coverage for themselves and their families through the exchange. These enhanced subsidies were introduced as part of the American Rescue Plan Act and extended through the Inflation Reduction Act. The subsidies are set to expire at the end of 2025. We recently sent detailed information to the board that explain how the expiration of these subsidies will affect many of our customers in Connecticut by significantly increasing the cost of health coverage for them and their families. We intend to be proactive in sharing how this will affect people locally and as well as nationally. We are working with state legislatures and colleagues across the country to do all we can to ensure these enhanced subsidies are extended. We're also working on recommendations for Connecticut state leadership regarding what they can do to help Connecticut residents to protect Connecticut residents from the potential increase in costs, as well as other possible federal actions on the ACA that may adversely impact Connecticut residents. We will share those ideas with you in the coming weeks, but we have a framework of about 9 to 10 items that we are looking at that we are currently vetting. Then we'll forward it to the board in by the end of the month or early next month. Our meeting today will begin with the annual adverse selection report presented by Julie Andrews of Wakely Consulting. This is a mandate that we have to do every year. Following Julie will be Katie Hearns, Associate Director of the Enterprise Project Management Office within Access Health. She will give you an update of the 2025 open enrollment period, preliminary update, which ended yesterday, and I'm very happy to report that we are at above 151,000 extraordinary compared to prior years, and also as well as Cover Connecticut about 2 days ago crossed the 40,000 threshold, which is amazing. So this is really Connecticut residents are getting an excellent deal because of the work the state has done as well as our board.
So James, sorry, is
yes,
it 40,000 Cover Connecticut plus 150,000 on the exchange? So 190,000 total or 150,000 total?
No, it's 151,000 total.
Total. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. This was a very successful open enrollment period for us. This year's enrollment numbers exceeded last year's record-breaking enrollment numbers. I'm thankful for our team and their hard work during this very busy time for us. Following that, I will speak a little bit more about the possible changes to the enhanced subsidies and potential impact to Connecticut residents for 2026. Also talk a little bit about what we have been doing and what we will be doing in the coming weeks. Caroline Rouette, Director of Marketing, will present the final Medicaid unwinding report. If you remember last month, the last time we met, we didn't have enough time to cover it. And this was a report to the board to explain how we spent the $2.7 million that the board allowed us to use out of reserves to do marketing and outreach to help on the Medicaid unwinding population continue coverage. I think that you will find the results, the impact of those numbers were very dramatic. And then after Caroline, John Carbone, Director of SHA, will give an update on where we are with respect to the individual coverage health reimbursement arrangement, otherwise known as ICHRA. In the context of ICHRA, we have demonstrated the new platform for our 2 carriers and brokers and have received very positive comments from everyone who has seen it. We will continue to enhance the platform until our public launch on later on this year, possibly early summer. We want to make sure it is in the best possible position to give all businesses access to health insurance for their employees through the exchange. After that, Susan, Director of Legal in Government Affairs, will provide an update from the Health Plan Benefits Qualification Advisory Committee, which met yesterday. So we started the planning for 2026, started yesterday. Thank you again for being here, and I'm open to any questions anyone may have. Chair.
Thank you, James. And again, congratulations on the numbers. It's particularly heartening, to me at least, to see the implementation of Cover Connecticut. It's been it is implemented through the exchange, and I'm delighted to see that it has been so successful. Any other comments or questions for James? If not, then thank you again. And Susan, back to you.
Oops, my apologies. I'd like to introduce Julie Andrews from Wakely Consulting. Julie has worked with us for a number of years, and she helps prepare one of the jobs that Wakely does for us is to prepare an adverse selection study. We are required under our enabling legislation to have this study completed every year to look at whether there is any adverse selection and whether it is negatively impacting the exchange population by way of rates. So I will turn it over to Julie. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan, and good morning, everybody. So on the next slide, this presentation is a high-level overview of the adverse selection study. The studies, as Susan mentioned, is a legislative requirement and focuses on identifying adverse selection from 3 potential sources, as well as looking at other types of sources of adverse selection. Possible actions are considered in mitigating the selection impact and ensuring the exchange's sustainability. On the next slide, we've defined adverse selection as a market segment attracting a higher health risk versus another market segment. We're using the risk scores derived from the Federal Risk Adjustment Program and their measurement in the various segments. Finally, we measured the differences in the loss ratios before and after the Federal Risk Adjustment Program to determine if that program is adequately mitigating risk selection amongst the issuers in the marketplace, as that remains the key mechanism for mitigating risk. On the next slide, for our study, we took a dual approach to the study, collecting data from all of the issuers, as well as surveying the issuers in the marketplace for their own experience, their concerns, and their views on possible solutions to marketplace challenges that they may be experiencing. On the next slide, the statute requires the review of 3 potential areas of adverse selection. So these 3 are: the first, a statutory requirement covers grandfathered plans versus non-grandfathered plans. Grandfathered plans were those plans established prior to the enactment of the ACA in 2010. There are no longer any grandfathered plans in the marketplace, so this was not reviewed in the study. The second requirement is to review selection on versus off exchange in the individual and small group marketplace. Lastly, the requirement is to review selection in the small group market with self-funded plan options. Finally, we consider additional emerging potential sources of adverse selection not identified in the statute. And so if you go to the next slide, some of those other potential issues are the impact of the Covered Connecticut program and the completion of the PHE, or the public health emergency, unwinding in 2024 will continue to have an unknown impact on the individual marketplace as these new market participants reshape the individual risk pool. So right now, the Covered Connecticut program participants currently represent about 27% of enrollment. And then looking ahead, the expiration of the enhanced subsidies has the potential to impact enrollment, as some may find coverage unaffordable. So going on to look at the on versus off exchange analysis and looking at the graphs. As I mentioned, for analysis, we reviewed risk transfer payments from the Federal Risk Adjustment Program for on versus off exchange enrollment. The Federal Risk Adjustment Program seeks to equalize risk in the marketplace amongst issuers, but it doesn't reduce overall adverse risk in the overall marketplace. The graph on the left illustrates a decrease in the 2023 average risk for enrollees off exchange, which are represented by the light blue bars, while on exchange enrollee risk profiles are presented by the dark blue bars. In 2023, the average off exchange enrollee average risk score was 150% of the market average, while those on exchange are just 1% below the market average at 99%. The change in risk has coincided with the decrease in the off exchange enrollment. So looking at the graph on the right, the proportion of total market enrollment from off-exchange enrollment has declined from almost 12% in 2021 to only about 4% in 2024, which is the light blue portion of the bars. Looking at the dark blue portion of the bars, which is the on-exchange enrollment, it's grown steadily, indicating enrollees could be moving on exchange from the off-exchange market to take advantage of the Covered Connecticut program or the enhanced subsidies offered under ARPA and the IRA. Going on to the next slide, this is the results of looking at the Federal Risk Adjustment Program as the key mechanism for mitigating risk amongst the issuers. The graph illustrates single loss ratios for on versus off exchange plans before and after risk adjustment transfers compared to the 80% loss ratio benchmark, which is the red line. In 2023, comparing the two gray bars on the left half, the on-exchange loss ratio increased from a pre-risk transfer basis of 86% to 87% on a post-risk transfer basis, thus reflecting a transfer of funds from on-exchange plans to off-exchange plans in response to that higher risk observed on the prior slide. And so therefore then in the 2023 off-exchange ratios, so the two gray bars on the right half of the graph, the post-risk adjustment went from 94% to 81%, reflecting that flow of risk transfer funds, so offsetting the higher risk off-exchange, though it is an imperfect mechanism. On the next slide is the enrollment mix for both on and off exchange. And we can see how changes in incentives have potentially influenced the plan selection by metal tier over time. You know, in the past, we had really seen an increase in bronze in the burnt orange portion of the graph as individuals were moving to bronze plans, but that has reversed over time. Bronze plans have decreased from 42% of enrollment to only about 26% of enrollment mid-year 2024, with silver plans and gold plan elections having increased, which are the gray and that gold portion of the graphs. This shift doesn't necessarily mean adverse selection in the marketplace, but indicates a preference or selection trade-off that's occurring. So potentially the lower subsidized premiums under ARPA are driving selection plans with less cost sharing as they're be more affordable, as well as the Covered Connecticut program, which requires enrollment in a silver plan. The market disruptions over the years with COVID and then recent policy changes have made it challenging to gauge and react to potential drivers of selection. And this is based on surveys of issuers on current and future sources of potential selection in the individual market. Their overriding theme that the issuers indicated was that for their evaluation of the market race, they appreciate consistency. And so, you know, issuers identified, you know, consistency in special enrollment periods and the methodology in identifying those, as well as making keeping the enhanced subsidies permanent. And then also just concerns about the regulatory and legislative uncertainty, especially with a new administration coming into the into play here in the coming year. So to conclude, the off-exchange market continues to decline in enrollment and deteriorate in average risk relative to the on-exchange enrollment. So the Federal Risk Adjustment Program provides protection such that enrollees are not disadvantaged on exchange. In the next slide, while the small group market on versus off exchange is not addressed here due to the low on-exchange enrollment, which is under 2,000 lives or less than 4% of total enrollment. So while we're unable to compare on versus off exchange small group plans, we do look at the overall market shifts in the next section regarding the self-funding. So in conclusion, the goal is to continue to monitor off exchange and overall market enrollment and look for options to encourage enrollment and improve affordability for all. Review the use of exceptional circumstances for special enrollment periods and continue to improve the validation of qualified life events. And then obviously there are always the 1332 waiver options that will continue to remain an important market mechanism for solutions in Connecticut. So again, there's the consideration or potential reconsideration of the reinsurance program, which may be of more interest with the expiration of enhanced subsidies, especially for those that would be losing the subsidies, and then expansion of those eligible under the Covered Connecticut program. So next we'll go on to look at self-funding. The last statutory review element is for self-funding in the small group at marketplace. As in past years, we've had run into challenges with getting data, as self-funded plans are administered by the Department of Labor and do not necessarily openly report enrollment and experience. So we were unable to collect data through our survey from plans that offer self-funded plans. They did not provide the data. So we looked to public resources to find reporting on self-funded plans specific to Connecticut as well as nationally. We started our review by looking at the small group fully insured market enrollment to determine if there are any changes that we could attribute to drivers of selection. As you can see from the graph looking from left to right, we continue to observe declining enrollment in the small group marketplace. This is not unique to Connecticut. Small group enrollment has been contracting nationally. Announced issuer exits as well for 2025 will mean current enrolled lives will now need to seek new coverage. And so this disenrollment may be attributed to many drivers, not just self-funding. On the next graph, this is a national study, the Employer Health Benefit Survey performed by the Kaiser Family Foundation. And this study seeks feedback on many subjects. So here it looks at self-funding. The proportion of employer groups under 50 employees that indicate participation in self-funded or level-funded plans have remained relatively level from 39 to 42% for the past 3 years. But what we are seeing is a decrease in the pure self-funding option, which is the grouping of bars on the left, as it decreased from about 12% to 9%. The middle bars, set of bars illustrate that level funding continues to be the preferred mechanism for as a format of self-funding in this small employer marketplace. So the differences between the self-funded and the purely level funded is that under self-funded, an employer will work with a third-party administrator and be directly responsible for claim fluctuations month to month, while under level funding, it looks much more like a fully insured environment where month-to-month payments are held level and claim volatility is carried forward in a reserve account, which will be reconciled at the end of the term. So on the next slide, as mentioned, there's limited data to directly connect changes in the small group market being driven by a shift by employers to self-funding. Requested small group premium rate changes have averaged about 14%, while approved changes have been around 8.6% on average over the past three years. In some regions, actually, individual premiums are cheaper than small group premiums, and this is mostly in the bronze levels. As we look at the marketplace, significant increases in premiums may further push employers to consider self-funding options, thus continuing monitoring is recommended. However, it will be complicated by the lack of reporting on the self-funded marketplace. And that concludes the review of the adverse selection report, and I turn it back to the committee for questions.
Julie, thank you again for doing this for us. We really appreciate it. We appreciate your insights each year, and this is very helpful to us. Thank you. Any comments or questions about this report? Hearing none, then I would ask for a motion to accept the 2024 adverse selection study for submission to the General Assembly. Could I have a motion in that regard?
This is Claudio, so moved.
Thank you, Claudio.
Paul, second.
Thank you, Paul. Any further discussion? If not, then Charlie Klippel, yes.
Thank you. Paul Philpott,
Yes.
Carolyn Ritter,
Yes.
DJ Gifford.
Yes.
Thank you. Steven Hernandez, Matthew Brockman, Thomas McNeil. Mr. McNeil.
Yes.
Thank you. Dina Berlin,
Yes.
Peter Hadler,
Yes.
Kathleen Holt,
Yes.
and Claudio Galtieri.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Again, Julie, thank you so much for joining us. Next, I believe, Catherine.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. My name is Katie Hearn. I'm the Associate Director of the EPMO at Access Health Connecticut. This morning, I have a brief open enrollment status update for you. I do want to mention, though, that we will provide you with updated final enrollment numbers next week. The numbers that I will present today were captured as of last week. So we look forward to getting you the updated numbers, but these numbers are a little bit old. So we did want to point out that our qualified health plan retention rate for OE was approximately 88%. This is as of January 9th. And we'll have that updated retention figure along with the actual enrollment numbers to you next week. And also as of last week, we saw a reduction in call center traffic this year over year during OE, with about 27% fewer calls and about 10.5% fewer chats. But at the same time, we've seen an increase in our website usage by our consumers. And Caroline will talk a little bit more about our increased website traffic later. You'll see on an upcoming slide, our enrollment numbers have increased significantly year over year, bolstered in part by the continuation of the enhanced subsidies of the Inflation Reduction Act. And as a reminder, we included the projections that we shared with the board in November here. These numbers have not been reforecasted. These were the numbers shared in November. And as James mentioned, we have now over 151,000 individuals enrolled in QHPs altogether. So really happy about that. Next slide, please. Included here are the baseline enrollment numbers as of November 1st. So we just wanted to demonstrate how much enrollments have grown during this OE period. They're here for your reference. And then on the next slide, we'll show you the actual numbers as of last week. So as noted, our retention of customers year over year has been a key contributor to our record enrollments this year. You'll see our enrollment acquisitions are down slightly year over year. However, we gained more than 20,000 QHP enrollments year over year, including Covered Connecticut during the OE12 period. Covered Connecticut alone has seen an enrollment increase year over year of more than 50%. And our standalone dental plan enrollments exceeded our forecast and had increased by approximately 27% as of last week. So again, we look forward to sharing the final enrollment numbers with you next week. And please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, very quickly, just on the comment on the enrollment numbers, about before we before we integrated in one platform for both health and dental, we were at sub 2,000. We were about 1,500 dental enrollment numbers. And since we've invested some money in our technology platform and develop a dental enrollment platform that's directly integrated into our medical platform. Before that, you had to leave our system, go to another website to enroll. And since then, our enrollment numbers have continued to climb beyond what we had ever projected it would be. So this is real winning for us, but more importantly for folks in Connecticut who need dental coverage. And we're looking at the numbers to identify most of them probably are on Medicare. Medicare folks. We just want to verify that, then we'll come back to the board to give you what percentage of the dental folks are actually Medicare purchases. As you know, Medicare doesn't cover dental.
Right. No, very helpful. Terrific. Thank you. Thanks to both of you. Any further comments or questions on this data?
Yeah, hi, this is Grant. Am I to understand that we had a retention rate of north of 95%? I mean, it looks like the amount we had in January was 125,000, and by October we still had 121,000. That's only a drop of 4,300. That's pretty incredible. In fact, it's hard to understand. Is that right?
No, I think Kathy, we're at 88%.
88%. Yeah, is
still pretty phenomenal. But I guess we had some churn in the meantime. In other words, the 121,000 in October is not exactly coming all from the 125,000. We continue to enroll more people, special enrollment and that sort of thing during the year. Okay, but 88% is still pretty fantastic.
Thank you.
Terrific. Any other thoughts?
Yeah. Hey, Charlie, it's Paul.
Hey, Paul.
James, the 27% reduction in calls.
Yes.
And do we believe a chunk of that is from our enhanced technology, online technology?
We think it's a combination of number of growth on our part. We think our customers are getting more comfortable with the technology that we use.
Right.
And we also think that we provide a lot of tools in our technology to help them select the right plans. We're also leveraging our brokers more than we've done in the past, and also our community partners are also working more collaboratively and with Tammy's team to enroll directly online. So it's a whole lot of different approaches that we are leveraging to get. Again, we don't want people calling the call center because it's a very expensive way to enroll folks. So that's what we continue to do. But Paul, to your question about our technology, the guts of our technology is still the same as it was 12, 13 years ago. We know that's the source, that's the challenge for our customers when they apply, because the process they go through is similar to exactly like they went through back in October 1, 2013. And as you know, we have a major project that we are developing. We call it 10 clicks for folks to. So that's we are working that. We'll come. We're going to work with Steve Hernandez and her committee in the strategy committee to get that developed and ultimately presented to the board. But we think that's gonna make it. Our intention is to make it easier for Connecticut residents to apply for health insurance, not just QHP but Medicaid as well. So we think that's going to pay some big dividends. We do know that there are some folks in Connecticut right now who are hourly workers. If they want to apply, call the call center. It takes more than half an hour, which is what most hourly workers get for lunchtime for them to enroll. So we think that there are some folks out there who don't have access to health insurance. Simply, they just don't have the time to apply because our process is so lengthy.
Yeah, I just I think that anything we can do to make self-service, self-help easier on our customers, we ought to do that. And I think one of the benefits will be that we'll get less calls to the call center. So
Absolutely.
I mean, I think that I think the investment in 10-click is something that I think should bear fruit in the future.
Absolutely. And that's the intent, Paul.
What's that?
That's the intent of the 10 clicks, make it easier, more efficient, more effective for people to apply for health insurance and less calls going to the call center. More
Right.
self-service.
Thanks, James. Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? It's a great report. Thank you very much. James, we're going to move back to you.
Sure. Very quickly, just want to give the board an update on what we are working on to prepare ourselves for the possible expiration of the enhanced subsidies. First and foremost, we sent the board. We created a number of charts that outlines examples of potential economic impact to Connecticut residents and families. We said that we broke it down by congressional district and shared it with each congressional district. We also have one for the entire state that shows specific examples. If these expire, this is what it means for some families. We sent that to the board last week. And we have met with the governor's office earlier this week to express some of the same concerns, to get their input. We have also met with the majority leader of the Senate and his team, and we also met with the majority leader of the House, Connecticut House, as well. And we have a number of meetings scheduled. The intent is to share this information, answer the questions, and then list their support, and as well as the public concern. Hopefully, they'll be able to express that and get people mobilized to start taking action on their own behalf. But in addition to that, the impact is not just economic for our customers, but it is the impact of the entire state. Some of these changes are dramatic. We believe if they were to expire, premiums go up. The only people most of the folks who cannot afford the increased premiums, they may drop coverage altogether. And this would also may potentially have an impact on Cover Connecticut as well, because a good chunk of the Connecticut Cover Connecticut funding is from the enhanced subsidies. So as people drop off coverage, and the people who will hold on to coverage more than likely will be folks who would be using healthcare because they have a health need to have coverage. So which will increase costs for everyone as the claims go up and less people are paying to the pot. Ultimately, we all want to pay for it. So just a big picture going out, the impact could be more dramatic than just people and premiums going up. So the other steps we are taking, we have about 7 to 8 items that we are looking at. We are vetting out to recommend to state legislature as well as the governor to possibly take action to try to insulate or minimize the impact, not just of the enhanced subsidies going away, but also other action that might be taken by the incoming administration that may impact the ACA, which ultimately may impact negatively Connecticut residents who buy insurance on the exchange. One of the items we're looking at is possible tax credit for small employers, and incentivizing them to buy, providing health insurance through our ICHRA platform for their employees. We're exploring that as well as possible. Does the state have the resources to cover the gap of the enhanced subsidies going away? So we've done those calculations. We have those numbers. Those are just 2 examples that we are exploring, but there are other ones we are looking at as well that may provide some non-cost, non-expenditures to the state, nonetheless protect Connecticut residents from possible action that the incoming administration may take to try to further damage the ACA. So we look to share those with the board in the coming weeks or so.
James, I thought your mail-aheads were helpful. Thank you very much for doing that in advance of this meeting. This is an important issue for the exchange, obviously. Comments, questions on this one at this stage?
Charlie, one more quick comment, Charlie. If we intend to be very proactive, very aggressive in telling the public about the possible impact that this may have on them and their families as we move forward. If Congress allows these enhanced subsidies to expire, and my colleagues across the country are doing the same thing, where they're targeting certain districts to make sure those in those districts, in particular purple districts, to be aware that if these expire, if Congress allows these to expire, this is what will happen to you and your family's insurance costs.
Okay.
So we will be very aggressive in putting stuff into the media, and obviously before we do anything, we will share it with the board, so no one, so we're not reading it for the very first time in the newspapers.
Thank you, James. Any other questions, comments, concerns at this stage on this very important issue?
Looks like Dr. Gifford has a question. Oh, she has her hands up.
Oh, sorry. Yes, please.
Thanks, James. Do you have a way, or has CSIO or any other state-based exchanges done any modeling of what kinds of numbers we might see coming off the exchange if the subsidies are not renewed? Just in terms of planning, both for our providers and for us as a state, do we have a sense of, where that 110,000 might land?
So, Dr. Gifford, we have looked at our own population impact and cost to the state if the subsidies expire. We have that information for our own state, and every state is doing the same thing. All my colleagues are doing the exact same thing. Is there a collective number for the entire country? I believe there is.
No, I was just talking about for us. Like, how many people do we expect will drop coverage?
Oh, drop coverage. And we're doing that analysis now, right? So we're looking at pre-ALPA, pre-enhanced subsidies, and how many people came on board. We know a lot of 400% folks may drop off because it'll just be too expensive for them to afford it. Because some of them $2,000-3,000 a month is what they would have to pay out of the pocket. So we're going to look at who enrolled before the enhanced subsidies, who enrolled afterwards, and try to from that analysis try to figure out exactly how many of them may. Again, there'll be a projection on our part, simply because some folks may still keep coverage because they need it, simply because they have health issues that they need the coverage. And that we're not going to be able to forecast that, but we'll do our best. And once that analysis is done, we will get it to the board. We're going to be working with our weekly consultant to try to figure out exactly what those numbers look like. But we should have them rather sooner.
Thank you.
So, if I can, Mr. Chair.
Sure, please.
I want to just pick up on the point that I think, James, you made earlier, which has to be front and center of the focus. These subsidies don't expire till the end of 2025. It is absolutely critical that the attention be on Congress to do what they should do, because if they don't extend these subsidies, it's major tax increases for a lot of people who require health care. So we cannot take the gas pedal, take our foot off the gas when it comes to ensuring that Congress does the right thing and steps up here. I'm very cautious of the fact that we are going to have a number of different potential issues that we have to calibrate for, and it cannot be the answer that the state will step in for every of a myriad of Medicaid decreases, potential cuts, changes in block grants, changes in federal funding. We just will not be able to do that. So we need to really focus, and the first line of defense has got to be on Congress to act in the federal administration. And I appreciate, James, that you all have gotten out ahead of it by quantifying the data in a very specific and congressional district way of what's going to happen. And I think to Dr. Gifford's point, that adds even more color commentary, because I think the impact is far greater. I think that if we can quantify number of people who will lose, number of people who will increase, but also the point that you made, James, about who will be left on the exchange will be those that are very ill and have maybe pre-existing conditions and high users. And that could send the whole exchange on a death spiral that would destabilize it or add increase for everyone, even if they are of modest means and can afford relatively expensive healthcare. Now that's going to go up. So we need to tell a really broad story that shows the domino effect that this can have. So I appreciate the work that you've done. I know that you're laser focused on the federal delegation, but we've got to exhaust that path and really push as hard as possible. And thank you, Dr. Gifford, for suggesting some additional complementary analysis that will be helpful for us.
So, Claudia, very quickly, to your point, we are super aggressive in making sure the public is aware of this. Part of it is self-serving, because we know if when it gets out, the premiums going up. If we're not out there right now, people will be blaming the insurance industry and the exchange for premiums going up dramatically. So we got to make sure that everyone is aware that they're going up because Congress is not acting, hasn't acted. I'm working with my colleagues across the entire country. All the exchanges are in lockstep and we are targeting certain congressional districts, purple district Republicans, to make them aware, to share the same information that we share with our elected officials, so they know exactly what the impact will be to the folks who voted them into office. So again, there's a coordinated effort across the country from all the exchanges, making very targeted focus to do everything we can. All gloves have come off. This is about making sure Americans continue to have access to health insurance, affordable health insurance. So that is, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but we are just as enthusiastic as you are with respect to this effort.
Kathleen, did you have a question or comment?
Yeah, I had a comment. Thank you.
Please.
I think another part of the analysis really has to do with what we saw before the advent of the healthcare exchanges, which was people were coming onto Medicare much sicker because they were waiting to get health insurance. And so what you found when there was the analysis, I believe that the Kaiser Family Foundation, now KFF, did was to look at the impact of the healthcare exchanges to see what impact that had on people coming onto Medicare. And the cost to Medicare went down dramatically because people were getting healthcare up until the age of Medicare, then they were transitioning into Medicare. So part of that analysis is looking to see what will happen if we back out of this wonderful enterprise and allow people to not have healthcare, but then have that all be on the backs of Medicare when they become eligible for that program. Thanks for everything.
Great point.
Appreciate
Great
your work.
point. Any other comments? Thank you. If not, then we will keep this, James, I'm sure we'll keep this top of mind for us. So thank you all very much for your thoughts and coordination here. James, no, I guess we're asking John Carbone.
Yeah. Yep.
Please.
Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. John Carbone, Director of Small Group Product Development and Broker Support. As many of you know, over the past several months, we've been actively working on evaluating and refining our ICHRA technology platform to meet the diverse needs of the Connecticut residents. During this time, we're focused to ensure usability for a seamless experience, maintaining compliance, and achieving scalability to adapt to the needs of the evolving marketplace. We are proud to share that we are in the process of successfully deploying and implementing a custom in-house technology platform. This tailored solution reflects our ongoing commitment to deliver a system that works for everybody, simplifying the enrollment process for our employers and employees while supporting our Connecticut residents and broker community. This effort is about more than technology. It's about creating a tailored system that strengthens the partnership and improves all access for all. We understand that collaboration is critical for this success. Starting October 5th, Access Health began hosting and meeting with the key stakeholders to introduce and demonstrate the new platform. These stakeholders include the Governor's Office, the Comptroller's Office, the Real Estate Insurance Committee. These meetings were established to ensure alignment with the state's objectives, priorities, and strategic directions. Also, we met with our carrier partners, Anthem and Connecticut, to ensure our system capabilities and alignments to make sure that we're all in sync. And of course, our local brokers and associations. These partners are instrumental in advocating for this platform and also delivering it in the future. On November 1st, we also entered into our soft launch phase. This phase allows us to test the platform in real-world scenarios with a select handful of brokers and employers. Our focus in this phase is threefold: developing insurance as seamless integration with our current system, verifying our compliance with CMS, IRS, and ACA regulations, and also collecting our data and user feedback to refine the platform and make sure what we deliver on 7/1 is a seamless platform that will help all our Connecticut residents and brokers. Alongside with this launch, we're rolling out a robust marketing campaign starting in January 2025. As you're aware, to raise awareness, education to all our users and generate excitement. The full rollout of the enhanced platform is planned for 7/1/2025. This date will mark a significant milestone for Access Health, as the platform will deliver innovation and an effective solution for the Connecticut marketplace.
Hey, John.
Throughout.
Can I interrupt you for just 1 second? Forgive me for the interruption. I noticed that we're going to lose a few people at 10 o'clock, and I just want to make sure we're not going to lose a quorum when we do that.
Okay, no problem, sir.
So is Marcin, are you still with us?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we're also hoping that Mr. Steven Hernandez will join us at 10. So with 3 voting members departing, we would still have a quorum, but it's, it would be, depending on Mr. Hernandez joining us.
Susan, you're the parliamentarian here. Do we, I just worry about not having enough votes to adjourn this meeting.
I know, it is the adjournment vote, not any real board business. So I guess it's not critical. And we can, we've got 2 minutes left. So maybe I don't know, it's up to you as the chair. We can skip, Caroline and I had updates after this as well.
No. I was just wondering whether you could do like an advanced
an advanced vote to adjourn.
An advanced adjournment vote, just so we don't lose quorum.
Yes, I guess you could do that. That would be a novel approach, but sounds good. It's only, it's only adjournment. So
I asked for a vote to adjourn this meeting when the presentations are finished.
A motion to advance adjourn.
That's what I'm asking for.
Yeah.
Thank you.
As Charlie said, when the presentations are finished.
When the presentations are finished.
When the presentations are finished. Yes, right.
All right.
Is there a second?
Thank
you. That's Paul.
Thank you very much. Klippel, yes.
Okay. Paul Philpott?
Yes.
Grant Ritter?
Yes.
Deidre Gifford?
Yeah.
Steven Hernandez? Matthew Brockman? Thomas McNeil?
Yes.
Dina Berlin?
Yes.
Andrea Barton Reeves? Or Peter Hadler?
Peter Hadler, yes.
Thank you. Kathleen Holt?
Yes.
And Claudio Gualtieri? Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm sorry for the interruption, and we will just put that on our pocket for the end of this presentation. John, I interrupted you in the middle of yours, so please return.
No problem, sir. I think Steve Hernandez has also just joined too, just to make you aware of that.
Oh, good news. Thank you. Welcome, Steve.
There you go. All right, I'm pretty much towards the end of it, so I'll just finish out. Throughout this process, we remain committed to be transparency, provide regular updates with all our key stakeholders, clients, and partners to ensure everybody stays informed about the progress and some of our milestones. In conclusion, this platform represents more than just technology. It represents an investment to the people and businesses of Connecticut. It reflects our unwavering commitment to create a more accessible, compliant, and user-centered health insurance marketplace. Thank you for your support, feedback, and partnership.
Thank you. I think Dr. Gifford has a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So we saw the numbers earlier about the, continued decline in the small group enrollment and the shift to the self-insured. I think we should all be concerned about this shift. I know people are. And I particularly worry about smaller and smaller employers who do not have the wherewithal to manage these self-funded plans. And I think we should be doing, whatever we can, as you are, to give them other options. And so my question is, James, maybe this is more for you. We know every day, I would say probably the OPM, myself, the governor's office, we hear from a small to medium-sized employer who needs help. And we have been touting this option. And so I wonder if there's a way, I mean, you know that we sent you a medium-sized employer, in the last couple of weeks who was interested in this. Is there a way that we can accelerate the July 1 date and have some kind of bespoke enrollment process before the platform is ready? It feels like a very long ways off. Given where we are, particularly if we start to hear, bad news from Washington. Is there any way, and I realize these things are complicated and you guys have a lot on your plate, so, but is there any way that we can accelerate this process for some of our employers who are in real trouble?
So a couple of quick points. There's a 90-day notification requirement. So July 1st is driven by the fact that if you are an employer and you want to transition into an ICHRA platform, IRS require you to notify your employees 90 days before that happens. So the process will start sometime in March or April. And in terms of reaching out to employers who are interested in coming on ICHRA on July 1st, they have to start the process of notifying their employees 90 days before that date. So we would have to start earlier than July 1st.
I understood John's presentation to be saying that the platform, which is where I understand an employer can go on and evaluate the financial sides of this, that wouldn't be ready until July 1. Did I misunderstand?
No, you're right. You're right. They're just that if they want to come, that's why the marketing is going to start later this month, early February, to get people engaged so they can start the process of doing the evaluation. And we have our brokers ready to help them do that process. But to the platform, again, July 1st is the worst case scenario for us. There's an outside chance we could do it even sooner than that. But even if we do it sooner, there's a 90-day requirement of notification for employers to notify. So even let's say that we come in April, we're able to get fired up in April. I mean, they got to start notifying their employees sometime this month or February. It's an IRS requirements. But to your point,
they wouldn't want to notify their employees until they've done the math, right, to figure out the difference and whether it's more affordable. So is it the brokers then that should be helping them do that math until the platform is ready?
So James, let me jump in right here. Dr. Gifford, what we've done is that client that you did sent us, we did meet with them. So I'll provide you a little feedback. We'll leave that partner's name out. and have the
Right.
conversations and some of the concerns they had with their broker involving in the process. But one of the things is we can start all the math up, which we're going to do and which we have done. We can create all that math outside of it. The technology platform helps deliver all that information to the member, as James
Yeah.
says, with the 90-day notice. We have to make sure we meet our CMS compliances or we'll get our hands slapped. So we need to make sure we do all that, and that platform is extremely robust. This market segment is extremely heavy broker driven. About 90 to 95% is handled by a broker. We have to make sure we deliver this product to them, how they can make sure that they promote it and present it to their employers. But we can work, and we are working with the brokers to help them figure out the math ahead of time and give them an idea. So we create that funnel. So when we get close to that 90-day period in March, we can put them in the funnel for a 7/1 effective date, because that's the earliest we can do that effective date with the 90-day notice, because that's exactly when the platform probably will be ready. We'll have a robust version of the platform right around 80-85% sometime in the month of March, and in the following 2 to 3 months, it will be at 100% 7/1. So the group that you brought over to us, a little over 300 members of employers, we went through the whole scenario. They had questions about individual plans, about networks, and also about the product being new. And these were all coming from their broker. We have a little bit of an uphill battle with the broker community because this is a change for them. This is definitely a change from a small group.
This is what worries me.
Yeah.
You know, that it worries me that we're not going to get the kind of uptake of this potentially very beneficial program if we don't have enthusiastic partners trying to sell it to employers.
And that's what our robust marketing plan is going to do with our broker community, and what all the training that we're going to be doing ahead of time, starting in like middle of February, March, and April. We're going to be meeting with our entire broker community almost on an everyday basis throughout the week to do training, external partners, talking to them, meeting them in person, doing live training and presentations for them, and demonstrating the platform and handing out all the new marketing pieces that we have out, especially with all the external marketing, billboard, radio ads, news, editorials, and all that stuff.
So Dr. Gifford,
Thank you, John.
Part of what we're doing now is engaging with a select group of brokers and employers to help us develop the beta testing that we're in right now. So they are trying to break the system, give us feedback, we'll fix it. And as they see the system evolve, they're going out and tell their colleagues across the broker community. So we're trying to, even in this phase, we are trying to get enthusiasm going organically through our broker community. But we do have a very robust, as John indicated, marketing strategy, in person, one-on-one, as well as a mass media approach to get the word out. So we know if people are not using it, then it's useless. So we got to get them to the table so they could participate in it.
Thank you, James.
Hey, this is Paul. I got a question for John. John, have you guys done any modeling of broker compensation? Meaning, if I have a block of small group business and I transfer it over to ICHRA, what happens to me compensation wise?
So we don't have precise numbers, Paul, but there is a different change in compensation for the broker, depending on which carrier, if it is a Anthem or is it a United or is it a, potentially, phase out Cigna product, there is a change in compensation. We don't have the exact numbers because we truly don't know what the market is out there, but there is a difference in compensation. I can give you one example. Depending on the size of the group, with Anthem, a group of 10 people, they get paid $32 an individual member. On the exchange with Anthem's individual product, it's $18 up to 3 members of a household, depending on the demographics. So there is a little bit change of that marketplace, but Paul, here's some of the feedback we've been getting from the brokers. A lot of the employers are basically saying, we're just going to drop them to the individual market. We're going to let them fly, and leave them alone. But when they bring the ICRA conversation up, it creates that mechanism to allow them to have that individual product with a group feel approach, which tends to bring that broker aboard and understand where the market's going in Connecticut.
Yeah, I just, I'm sensitive to this idea of what happens to the producer, when they switch the product. Because think about this: A, there's a lot of administrative work on their part, right? And B, their reputations are at stake. If they recommend this product and we don't deliver it in a high quality fashion, they're going to get that damages them too. If you follow what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So
that's
these
why
guys
it's
are
super. Yeah, I agree, Paul. That's why it's super important for us to make sure that this platform delivers exactly what that broker needs to demonstrate to that employer. But we need to not forget, once that broker does that, we have to remember that experience and that journey for that employee. And that's why we're trying to eliminate as much administrative burden on that employer and that broker especially, and then the employee, on shortening that journey to understand what they have to do with a ICRA or an individual product if they're able and eligible to get an advanced premium tax credit.
Yeah. Well, I would just encourage you guys to do a little more modeling on compensation and, work with the carriers, get creative, do whatever you have to do. But you don't want to be in a situation where you're asking these guys to roll their business over from product A to product B, take on additional administrative, expenses, put their reputations at stake on a new product, and take a reduction in compensation.
Yeah, I agree with you, sir.
And remember, part of our strategy is to work with the governor's office and state legislature to incentivize the small businesses through a small tax credit to put their employees through the ICRA. We think this is going to be a huge benefit, especially for small businesses 50 and under, and nonprofits with frontline employees who are at the income level where they may qualify for subsidized health, Cover Connecticut. With the proper incentives, they're going to leverage the ICRA, hopefully driving the brokers to our platform because of the incentives, if they're able to make it through legislation.
Well, anything you can do to incent these brokers is going to be very important.
Will do.
Because like John said, broker penetration is what, 95%?
Yep. About 90 to 95%.
For small businesses, yes.
So you're going to need those guys. So I think I think I'd do a little more work on it. Compensation. I mean,
we will, Paul.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yep.
Thanks, Paul. A good discussion. Thank you, John, and I'm sorry for my interruption in the middle of it. Thank you, Dr. Gifford, for your comments as well. James, Susan, let's do a little bit of this, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'll just condense my update for you. The Health Plan Benefits and Qualifications Advisory Committee started their work for the 2026 plan certification cycle. They actually met yesterday. They reviewed plan designs. We start our work looking at the calculator that CMS releases for the upcoming plan year, and then we compare our current plan designs to see where we might need to make changes. And we know we need to make changes in most of the plans, so we have a bunch of work to do there. And we actually started our work early. Plan management actually took some time to research and look at plans and other exchanges and on the FFM to look at their benefit designs for standard plans, which was very meaningful for us to look at as well, because we have not done that. And then Wakely proposed some options. So we're in the process of proposing different options to the issuers, and the issuers have already begun their testing. We got to jump on that this year. We're still very much in the process, and the committee will continue to meet, and the carriers will continue to work with Wakely and the committee and plan management on this. And our goal is to be able to present the recommendations to the board in early March, because we do all this to back up, to give the carriers enough time to do their plan designs and rate filings, which are all due on June 1st with the insurance department and with Access Health as well. And just a note for this year, the insurance department is considering having the carriers file 2 sets of rates because of the uncertainty right now with whether the enhanced premium tax credits will be extended into 2026. So we'll see how that goes throughout the next few months and where that lands for June 1st. And also just a quick note for everyone, the Supreme Court recently decided to hear the Becerra versus Braidwood management case. That is the one challenging the preventive services recommendations and the preventative services mandate in the ACA. So we will continue to monitor those developments and keep you apprised of that important case. And that is it. Thank you. I'll pause for any questions.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question on the 2 sets of rates. So
Please.
do I understand correctly that then they would be rates with the continuation of the subsidies, rates if there's no further subsidies, and then they would model the people that would drop off, and so presumably those would be much higher rates, getting back to Claudio's point earlier?
Yeah, I guess that I would leave that up to the carriers, but I would assume that would be why the insurance department is considering it, and other states and insurance departments are considering this as well. So.
Okay.
And James
Interesting.
mentioned the potential, and Claudio, the impact on the insured population if the enhanced subsidies went away. We would still have the original ACA subsidies, but not the enhanced subsidies, which are richer and which provide subsidies for people over 400% of the FPL. So.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to have Caroline say a word about the Medicaid unwind. So Caroline, if you would, and then we will rest on our earlier adjournment. But please, Caroline.
Sure. Thank you. I'm Caroline Ruette, Director of Marketing at Access Health CT, and I do have the pleasure of sharing the results of our Medicaid unwinding advertising campaign with you today. Before I do jump into some of the details here, I do want to express our gratitude to our colleagues over at the Department of Social Services who are instrumental in helping to deliver these great results that we get to share with you today. There is a lot of collaborative effort between Access Health CT as well as the Department of Social Services in terms of getting messaging out into the market so that folks were aware of the opportunities. So thank you to DSS, and your help in doing so is definitely reflected here as well. So to remind everybody what this campaign included, a variety of different digital advertising, as well as some broadcasts, so things like TV and radio. We did a variety of print ads, as well as out-of-home ads. Out-of-home just alludes to things like billboards, posters, things like that you would see in public. The campaign also ran in 2 phases. And that's because unwinding took place over a period of time and it was bifurcated by open enrollment. And so we didn't want to have 2 different advertising campaigns in market at the same time. So the first phase of this unwinding campaign took place from June 16th to October 31st of 2023. The last phase of it, January 16th through March 31st, 2024. I will note to you that some of our open enrollment advertising messaging did include unwinding messaging. We just didn't have the specific campaign and the specific buy during that open enrollment period. And then also, before we move on to the next slide, the total budget that was pulled from reserves was $1.2 million. And we can move forward. So in terms of the numbers, there are over 427,000 individuals that we were targeting that were affected by Medicaid unwinding. Of that population, more than 348,000 were successfully enrolled in either a qualified health plan that included Covered Connecticut or into Husky Health during that unwinding period. The total spent was just above 1.2. What we did is we accounted for some of the messaging that was in market during our open enrollment campaign as well, because that did contribute to keeping people informed during the 2 phases of this campaign. When we break it down, the cost per enrollment, a very typical metric of success for a campaign, is about $3 is what it costs basically per enrollment based on the ad campaign that we did. And how do we know we were successful? That web traffic, like Katie Hearn mentioned earlier, was significantly larger over this last year. In fact, it increased by 279%. So we know that people were hearing the messaging, they were coming to the website and doing what they needed to do in order to keep their enrollment. We can move forward. I'm not going to go into a significant amount of detail here, but we are presenting a variety of data facts that go really, really in depth. Here we're presenting web traffic by the numbers year over year, so comparing the previous year, and we'll go into some additional detail in the next couple of slides. The point is we can dive in some detail if anybody is interested, but the point is that we want to be a data-driven organization, and that includes the marketing approach. So we want to make sure we're keeping an eye on all of these specific data points so that we can create benchmarks for ourselves and then optimize our campaigns and be really great stewards of the finances afforded to us in order to get messaging out. So we can move forward. This is a great visual of the first phase of the campaign where you can really see that increased web traffic. The orange at the bottom is the time period the previous year. The green above shows you that significant increase during the first phase of the campaign. And we can go into the next slide, please. You'll see the continued trend. This is the second phase of the campaign where there's also a significant increase in web traffic. We can move forward. Some additional information here about what we can track, right? Digital advertising is something that we can really track at a click level. And so we're tracking here our search results, our social media results, as well as the digital display ads, which are what you see in the periphery of your screen as you're browsing websites. We can move forward. We're also tracking all of our direct mail, email, and text messaging efforts, really understanding how many campaigns that we're doing, how many pieces are sent out, and of those folks who were contacted, how many of those folks enrolled. So we have all of that great data available to us, and we can move forward. Same thing for phone calls. One of the things that we share in our communications are specific vanity phone numbers, meaning they're specific phone numbers that are then rerouted to the call center. They go to the same place, but they allow us to understand, based on this specific piece of mail or email that went out, did anybody take action as a result of receiving that? And what we're seeing is that is in fact the case. And then also when we use QR codes on some of our content, is anybody scanning that? And the answer is yes, which is great to hear. We can move forward. And then this is almost the end. Really, we wanted to make sure that we broke down where people netted out, right? And so that green piece of the pie is folks that re-enrolled into Husky Health as predicted. That was the vast majority of folks. What's in orange for you is the amount of folks who went into a qualified health plan. On the right-hand side, we did break out how many of those folks are in a covered Connecticut plan, and that's almost half of that 20,000%. Or 20,000, excuse me, number. And then you'll see in the gray pie slice there that almost 80,000 folks did not enroll. But we do want to remind you that we took action on that population. They received a significant amount of communications from us. And also we did the leaver survey, right? To really dump in and identify where did they end up. And the vast majority of those folks did end up having coverage, either through an employer or a spouse or a family member. And then I'll leave you on the last slide, Merchant, if you could flip one more time. This is just some really detailed data of how we spent the money and when. So you'll see that campaign started in June. It paused in November, December, and half of January, and then picked up again in February and March. And so what you're looking at here is the blue number. That's how much money was spent per month. And then there's some other information here, right? The number of QHP enrollments as a result of unwinding Medicaid enrollments, and then the folks that were unwound entirely. So we hope that this is some great information. We will share it with you after this meeting so that you have a record of it. But ultimately, we wanted to share that we're, keeping track of how we're spending the money, creating benchmarks for ourselves so that we can continue to optimize and be good stewards of those finances afforded to us. And that's all I have for you, unless there's any questions.
Charlie, Mr. Chairman, and if you remember back in last year, we had asked the board wanted us to do something specific to help folks who were losing Medicaid because of unwind and make sure we didn't lose anybody. And the board authorized us to take $2.7 million out of reserves. And this is the result of that investment the board made, making sure folks did not lose coverage. And some of that money was spent in in-person events as well, which Tammy and her team did. So and most of the money was spent doing marketing, digital, radio, and ads, but some of it was spent on a number of year-round fairs, in-person events that we had with our partners in the communities to make sure people that needed in-person help show up to those events, and that required some investment as well. So again, this is the result of the work that, as Caroline indicated, we want to make sure that the board understands the stewardship that we applied to the $2.7 million to maximize those dollars in the best possible way.
It was important to do it, and I am encouraged by this data. I appreciate it, but let me ask whether there are any other questions or comments on this presentation. Caroline, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today and doing that presentation. James, I'll give you the last word.
Just future items, ICRA, 10 clicks, and we have a number of audits that's been going on. And also our budget, we started our budget process for FY 26. So that's coming over the next several months.
Well, look, I invite any other final comments as well from the board. Some very important topics. Thank you very much. I really appreciate all the interest, the support that you all have provided, and I'm delighted to hear that we are working together on many sort of these critical issues. It's terrific. Thank you. Yes. We have already voted to adjourn, so I'm going to take that as the vote to adjourn, and I'm going to thank you all very much. Look forward to seeing you at the next board meeting.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.